Wow. Steem Saturday. I cannot, I can barely believe I'm here. 8 months ago when we were designing Steem and Steem It, we were just thinking about the technology. But what's truly the most amazing part of this whole journey has been seeing people come together and to have it manifest here in Johannesburg, South Africa, which is a beautiful place. I could not imagine a better place, and with such an amazing and talented group of people. It's truly very special to me. So thank you, Robert, Gavin, Yaku, Naomi, everyone who's had a hand in putting this together. It's really extraordinary. So thank you. It was about 8 months ago that Dan Larimer and I decided to start this, and so now I'm CEO of Steemit.com, this social network based on a blockchain. It's based on this public database of information and of cryptocurrency and of people who just want to participate in interacting with one another. And the way it kind of came together is we looked at a lot of the aspects of our lives, coming into this that didn't seem quite right. So we look at banking, and in the banking sector, there's all sorts of challenges, from transparency to lack of transparency and the fraud that occurs and things like that. And we look at social networks and the way that social networks interact with us. Sometimes they're not completely transparent. Lately, we've been hearing about censorship and manipulation of content and things like that. And it's kind of it's not the perfect scenario for us, the people. And what we really want is a paradigm in which data is transparent, in which the utilities that we use online are working for us and not taking from us. So if we look at social media today, what they really have is this sort of walled garden. And think about all the people in the room. And think about all the hours that we give to these social networks. We spend our time and our energy and our creativity looking at these social networks and contributing content. And what these companies are doing is they're taking all that information along with our private data and putting it behind a walled garden to leverage profits for their shareholders. And we can flip that model, is what we've realized with blockchain. We can flip it so that the data is public, so that our time, energy, attention, and creativity is rewarded. And another aspect of these social networks is, despite spending so much time on them, they don't really incorporate the other aspects of our lives that are very important to us, like finance and marketplaces and things like that. There's a sort of dichotomy between our digital lives. We today have digital banking in a lot of places, but we don't have that in our phones necessarily, and we certainly don't have that in our social media apps. So we look at banking, and banking is this very cut and dry sort of institution, and for hundreds of years it's been about go down the street to this big sort of brick and mortar institution, put your money in, trust these people who you don't really know, and then they say the money will be there for you when you come back to get it. But what's happening behind that veil is these bankers and the people running these companies are taking big risks with our value and our money, and not always to our benefit. Just in the US recently, there was a huge case of fraud where this bank, Wells Fargo, was actually opening accounts, second accounts for their customers, and then racking up fee after fee in these second accounts without notifying their customers whatsoever, and then sending them the bill, but actually not even telling them that they owed money. They were just then siphoning money out of their first account. Really malicious sort of fraud. And this bank, Wells Fargo, was fined by the U.S. government to the tune of $190 million. But no one was fired. There was no hubbub about it. And if you really think about that event, it's a huge social issue. It's wildly corrupt. Last night I was at dinner with a group of 15 really extraordinary people who are here in this room and were telling me about their experiences with Steem and with government here in South Africa and different things like that. And we started talking about the way government works and things like that. And there's a lot of maybe some stories like this that occur down here as well. So hopefully you guys can relate to that. So as we looked at these problems, we realized that we're facing a very unique moment in time. And it's often these unique moments in time where there's a convergence of new technologies and demand for something better that produces something that completely transforms the landscape. And actually, looking back in time, one of the last times I saw this happen was in 2009 with a technology called Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, it was really it's a digital money. But what's unique about it is people kind of look around and they all sort of see the same problem. And it turned out there were about 3 teams of people working on a sort of Bitcoin solution, maybe more actually, because people were looking around and seeing the problem of how can we get control of our money again. And at the same time, there were these new technologies like Hashcash and DigiCash that were attempts at creating this new solution, but no one had figured out how to decentralize and distribute the technology in a way that would be robust. But at this moment in time in 2009, there were several people working on it, and there was one person, Satoshi Nakamoto, who ended up creating this Bitcoin. And how many people in the room know what Bitcoin is?